Hey, what's up, y'all? Thank y'all for tuning into the channel. Thank you for tuning into Becoming Better. My name is Rasheen. And so today, the topic that we're going to be discussing is the truth about having a child with a disability. Now, some of you may or may not know, my wife and I, we have a 6-year-old son. He has a disability that's on the autism spectrum. It's called Coffin-Siris syndrome. So it's a developmental delay. And so he doesn't really speak or anything. He just started walking around 4 years old. And right now he's around 6 years old. And the journey of when he was born up till now, it's had its crazy ups and downs. So I wanted to speak, to other folks. If you have a child with disability, or if you are having a child with disability, I want you to know what to expect when it does come down to it. All right. So some of these are going to be hurtful truths, and some of them are going to be loving and rewarding truths. But I just want to help prepare you because, no one was able to tell us some of these things when we had our child. And so one of the points is that it's going to be hard at first. Really, really hard at first because when this child is born, you may not know it, but you sometimes the mother catches on to if the child has a disability quicker than the father because women have an inherent way of knowing how a child is supposed to develop. I think it's just a nurturing part of them, but I always hear the stories. The mother knew at this point, 4 months, 6 months, sometimes at 2 months. Especially it will not take more than 8 months for a mother to know whether or not something is going on with that child. And so it'll be hard at first, and parents uh, probably after the 1 year old stage, parents may want to blame the other for the child having a disability. Now, if they're caring, they may not say that, but sometimes we will want to look back and see how did our child become disabled. Like, does one side of the family have a frequent occurrence of children or adults with disabilities? So it's going to be hard at first as well, because you know you're going to have to research it to see what's going on with the child. So you're going to have to write down as a parent everything that you saw or you're seeing with their development that is of major concern, and this helps narrow it down to what is going on with the child. I give my wife credit for that because she did the research down to the T to find out that our child had the disability known as Coffin-Siris syndrome. So, what else? When it comes to a child, a child with disabilities, you already need both parents to raise a child, period. But you are two, three times more going to need two parents to raise a child with a disability. It's way too hard for one parent to raise a child. My wife and I had that discussion last night. It's super hard. Like the single parent thing is already hard enough on one parent. But when it comes to a child with a disability, you're going to have so many. Once you find out that child's disability, you're going to have so many appointments that you're going to have to start attending: speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. You're going to have to meet with the EI, early interventionist. Like, it's so many different things that when it comes to changing the child. If the child is not walking, if the child is physically disabled, if the child is a runner, it's going to take two parents because you're going to have to keep track. And if the child gets to a point, even most children, they start speaking, 2, 3 years old, something of that nature, sometimes before that. But a child with the disability can't speak. So when a child becomes sick, it's going to take both parents to make sure to take care of the child, try to figure out what's going on. Y'all know how it is. Tylenol, Motrin, always swapping. We like to use Zarbee's, but yeah, those the medicines, but Zarbee's tends to help out a whole lot more. But it's both parents are going to feel. Another point is both parents are going to feel emotionally stressed, but in different ways. For men and women, it's kind of different. One may feel that the other is not doing enough, um, but it's not. That's not the case. Both parents is so new to both parents that it's gonna take some adjusting to it. As you all know, mothers are nurturing. So when it comes to nurturing a child and bringing them up, they're gonna want to nurture, make sure they're okay. Most of the time, fathers raise a child on how to survive within the world, how they're gonna survive, how they're gonna be out in the world. As parents, um, as mothers, you really can't expect for a father to nurture a child, let alone a child with disability, in a way that a mother nurtures. A father may take care of the child and nurture them to try to get them to develop more in ways of, trying to be more physical or whatnot. I remember when our son was, oh gosh, I think he was only 4, 5, 6 months old, something like that. And I was doing army crawls with him, and he was crying so bad. He was tearing up. And I know my wife, she was like, no, don't do that to him. Don't do that to him. And so I see him crying, and she said, no, don't do that to him. And then when I look back at it, like he didn't start walking until he was 4 years old. He had to use a walker and everything. And he got to a point where he just started walking without it. And I wished I would have had him doing more army crawls with, at that time. And even if he was crying, like, no, get out here and let's do these army crawls because they helped out. So if you see that a father is working with a child on something physical to try to enhance their strength or whatnot, as long as they're not hurting them physically, like, let that father work with them and help them get better physically, because it's going to be a long journey. It's going to be a really, really long journey. So, yeah, it's going to take both parents. And it's so new to both parents. So try your best not to blame the other. Whoever is better at a certain thing, then let that person be better at a certain thing. Right now, one of the things that I get with my son is he had a habit of throwing the cup on the ground. And so, after eating his dinner. So one of the main things is picking up his cup and putting it in the sink. And so it's just life skills. Just trying to work with your child on life skills so that they can try to survive and help themselves the best way that they can, and just live life to the best that they can. What else? So find a good doctor, physician that can authorize referrals, because you're going to need a good physician when it comes to your child with a disability. You're absolutely going to need it. They're going to have to be able to authorize certain things, whether it does come to speech, occupational therapist. You want that backing of that doctor to be able to say, yes, this child does have a disability, and yes, this child does need the services that are required when you're applying, whether it's with the state or whether it's with the early interventionist company or whatnot. You want that doctor or physician that can help with referrals. So one big referral is genetic testing. You want to be able to find out exactly what the disability is through genetic testing. So, like my wife said, like I said, I give her credit for this. Write down all of the disorders that you notice with your child since birth. And that's a good way for them, not only the physician, but the genetics to be able to narrow it down as well. And we got to see what variants came along with our son. And so, yeah, just do the genetic testing, and that'll help narrow it down. And I think when they did the genetic testing, they said that the disability, it didn't come from me or my wife. Sometimes I think it's in the food, um, because there's so many kids that are born with disabilities now, and I'm like, I don't know if they had disabilities back in the day and they just didn't know what it was. But I don't know, with so many hormones and different things added to the food, I'm just throwing things out there right now. It seems so strange nowadays, but that's neither here nor there. Another thing to look out for, and this is a hurtful truth: family and friends may not invite you to functions since your child is disabled. One thing is that family and friends, they're not going to say it. They're not going to say, I'm not going to invite this person. You may notice sometimes that you may see an event online, or they may share photos on Facebook or whatnot about an event that they had with a friend or family, and then you're like, well, damn, me and my child, your child and my child are the same age. How come they didn't invite me to the party or whatnot? And that's because your child may, I'm not blaming your child. Child may be a child that yells, or maybe a child that runs or screams, or your child may be a calm child that doesn't do much. But the hurtful truth is sometimes they're not going to consider you for these functions because your child is disabled, and they will not say it. And that's just the hurtful truth. So please do get prepared for that. And that is just a part of life. What else? Be sure to attend conferences and conventions related to your child's disability. We went to a conference this past summer in Boston, Massachusetts. It was for Coffin-Sarah syndrome kids with it, and we got to meet so many families. And you want that support system of knowing other parents with children that have disabilities. Now, you don't have to hang out all the time. You don't even have to talk all the time. But just knowing that there's another parent or person going through similar things that you're going through, it's, I'll say it's a little bit comforting in a way, because you just, if you're out here by yourself and you don't know anyone that has a child with a disability, then you're on a boat in the middle of the ocean by yourself, and you have no one else to talk to, and internally you're trying to survive and cope on your own. You don't need to do that. You need to be able to talk to other people. I got other fathers' numbers who have children with disabilities. Now, we don't talk often at all, but when we see each other, oh, we talking. Like, we chatting it up. We're talking. It's just great to know that they're out there, that they're there. If I need to reach out and say anything, a phone call, whatnot, at least I know that they're there. Like, that one part right there for me is comforting, just to know that they exist. I'm not the only one. For my wife, it's the same. She's on Facebook groups, different things of that nature, and they're chatting all the time. Like, they're on there talking all the time, getting feedback. And that mothers, they're nurturing. They know, they don't mind sharing their feelings and emotions with what's going on. As fathers, we're less likely to share our feelings and emotions, but we will share our experiences with one another. I saw a father when we visited a water park. His child was a runner. Like, that child was running. And it was just like, man, like, he told me about what he went through, and what was going on. He was the main one that kept an eye on the kid when it came to them being out in public, because the child was a runner. And so he was the one chasing after the child. Like he knew that's what was going to happen. So, like I said, it takes both parents. I can't imagine if it was just one parent. So, find good daycares, therapy facilities, and schools that have good programs for children with disabilities. I'd say visit these schools. You have the right to be able to visit, talk to your school district, and see what programs that they offer. I know some schools offer the choice program where you could choose what school you want to send your child to within the county. So then you could actually see what programs offer uh, um, programs with children with disabilities. You don't have to choose just the one school that you're designated to within that area. You have a choice of where you can send your child to school at. If your child has a disability, you just have to get started early with trying to find those programs or those schools. I'm sorry. But last but not least, you'll learn how to love unconditionally at its fullest. Children with disabilities, you you're gonna love them so much. I remember at first, um, I remember at first my mom was scared to babysit my son because he had a disability. So it's kind of scary. You don't know. You don't want to hurt the child if like hurt them accidentally if they have a disability. But now we have our 6 year old son and our 2 year old daughter. When I tell you, my mother, she will babysit our son in a minute because our son is easier. He's way easier. Our 2 year old daughter, she's beautiful, man. She's beautiful. She will wreak havoc if he can, and it's a funny thing. But he's just easier. We might give him his tablet, and he will scroll through his tablet, and he just as long as you can help with changing the diaper and feeding him and his tablet, he's content. He is really content. Now he does have behavioral issues. If we take away that tablet, he wants that tablet all the time. I think that's a lot of parents when it comes to something that's like digital TV stuff like that. Kids go crazy over things like that. But yeah, yep. So you will learn to love unconditionally at its fullest. Like to I will we're in the process of trying to make sure that our son potty trains or whatnot, and we know that's a work in progress. But if I got to change his diapers for the rest of my life, or the rest of our life, that's what needs to be done. But you know, just learning to love unconditionally. For couples out there with children with disabilities, y'all work together to make sure it happens and take care of that child. For single parents raising a child with a disability, just do your best that you can, finding the resources and as two parents, even if you're not together, because I've heard that parents that have raised children, some parents have ended up getting divorced because of the pressure of having a child with a disability. But just do your best to come together, even if you're not together, to raise that child. And I guess one thing is that also I forgot to mention is that dreams of what that child may become may no longer exist, but that's okay. That's okay. That's a part of life, and you want to just make sure you do your best to be the best parent to that child as possible, because they may not be able to speak, they may not be able to say it, but you'll know it. Yeah, you'll see it in their eyes that they love you, and you just do your best to raise a child to the best of your capability. Once again, this is Rasheen, and this is channel is becoming better. So please do subscribe, and I look forward to doing more content. So y'all take care. Talk to you soon. Peace.